This podcast is for entertainment and storytelling purposes only and is not a substitute for professional advice. Some topics may be sensitive. Please listen with care and seek support if needed.
Hi, I'm Crystal Park. Welcome to Season 2 of the Because She's Adopted podcast. Hello, Chris, and welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. This is very exciting.
So Chris is from the United States of America, and this is his first time in Canada.
Yeah.
We're sitting here drinking Tim Hortons coffee.
Yeah. Can we say that? Cheers.
Cheers. We're both a little shaky because we've had
a lot of coffee.
Had a lot of coffee so far.
A lot of coffee.
So what do you think of Canada so far?
I love Canada. I love Canada. Everybody is so nice. It's beautiful. It's like it noted when you're like visiting someplace, it's not the same as but it feels very easy, very just calming. Like my nervous system is not like, it's just really relaxed. So it's been beautiful and everybody's nice and your family's lovely.
Aw.
And so I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Well, Chris came in a few days ago and he's been staying with us. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if my kids have ever been so excited about a house guest coming.
That is awesome.
Before. And you just have left such an impression upon them. And I think one of the reasons why is because you treat them like they're people, like human beings. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Sometimes people, they come to your house and they're not really interested in your kids. They don't really, I don't know.
No, everybody's like so wonderful. Each one of you has a personality and I love it. And getting to know everyone more it's been a delight. It's been so easy. Like I told you before that I haven't always been the biggest fan of like staying with somebody because I need my own space. I don't feel like that. I'm like, what are we doing? Let's just hang out. Let's go. Let's just sit and talk. Like it's been really nice. So thank you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Thank you so much for coming and spending time with us.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go and do some icebreaker questions just because I don't know. I thought it would be fun.
Let's do it.
Okay, so what's the first thing people notice about you?
Probably my eyes.
Yeah.
People always comment on my eyes. They're like, "Oh, you have like really beautiful eyes," and then I always say like, "They're contacts." And they're like, really? I'm like, nah, I'm just kidding. Because I don't know how to take a compliment. So that I just deflect. I'm like, yeah, I paid a lot of money for these. They're like, oh. But yeah, that's probably the first thing.
How did you first know you were funny?
Ooh. I just remember making people laugh as a kid. And it just felt like a power.
I love making people laugh.
It is really addicting. I don't know if it's healthy, but it is it's really addicting. I'm like, and there are times where I'm sitting there having a conversation with somebody. I was like, oh, if I said this right now, it would be really funny. But I'm like, you can't. You're supposed to be present.
Yeah.
But
yes.
Yeah. But that was the first time when I was a kid.
Okay. All right. Do all people find you funny?
If you read YouTube comments, no.
No.
No. But I think I have a way, especially in conversation, I have a way of figuring out what somebody likes and then kind of catering to that.
Yeah.
And trying, because that's how I relate to people. It's like, so yeah, I'd like to think that at some point everyone has thought I was funny, but.
Well, and we were talking yesterday that I feel like you really have this gift of being able to see people really well. Yeah. And when you can see people, then I think you know how to interact with them.
And honestly, that might come from being adopted and having ADHD. Like it's trying to fit in and understand like, oh, these people do this and reading people really quickly. But yeah, I like it. I like it because I get to have like moments with everyone, like just a moment. And that's nice because it makes me feel connected.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm. Okay. What's the weirdest place your comedy has taken you so far?
I'm currently in a garage weirdest place that my comedy's taken me. I think maybe how we met.
Yeah.
We met I did a live taping of another podcast and in California, and it was an adoption podcast. And Atascadero is a tiny town.
Yeah.
And that was kind of weird. And I never thought that I would be like a face of adoption. So that's probably the weirdest place it's taken me. Yeah.
Yeah. So we went to Adoption, the Making of Me, Sarah and Louise's podcast in Atascadero. And I was on the panel, and you were also on the panel, but you were their live guest.
Yeah.
How did they find you?
Through comedy. Yeah, there's a lady named April who's a part of that community.
Yeah.
And she had seen me do comedy and saw me do a joke about being adopted, the thrifted joke, and I guess told people. And then they just reached out to me and they're like, would you like to be our live guest? And I said yes, but as I listened to their podcast, I was like, there's some people who have way more interesting stories. Like, I know that it's all about telling your story, but you also need some entertainment value. And I was like, there's some stories out there that are like movies. And then my story is like, all right, and there's that. So now what? But you know, it's been lovely.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed. I feel like that was like the kind of like the little piece of gold that came out of that. Not that, I mean, the whole weekend was fantastic,
yeah.
but I just feel like being able to meet you and you know, have a friendship with you. And
it was really good.
I think my husband and you have like a bromance
100%
going.
100%. Yep. You guys better stay together. Otherwise, no, I'm just kidding.
That right. That leads me to my next question, which is, how does adoption show up in your comedy?
I mean, I try and talk about it. I try and write jokes about it. I think it also just shapes how I relate to people, right? Like I said, like being able to read a room.
Yeah.
I think always wanting to be liked or feel needed helps me on stage, because if an audience doesn't like something, it's like, hey, let me pivot. I want you to like me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also, I feel like I do feel special to be adopted. I really do. And so it helped me get the confidence to just chase my dream. So I think that's also where it's helped me, where it's like, all right, well, things could have been different. This is the life I'm living. So let's try and make the most of it, whatever it is. And for years, I wanted to do comedy, and I was too scared growing up in Los Angeles. You're around all these people who are like, quote unquote, failed actors. And you realize they're not failing. You don't book every gig. But I just built up this fear. And then one day I was like, we're going to go do it. And yeah, I like to think that I'm just making everybody involved in my adoption proud. So
I love that. Like, you know, you've been doing comedy, what now, for like
almost 5 years. Yeah.
5 years.
Yeah,
like,
not too long, but.
And I mean, despite your baby face, you're a man.
I am. Yep. That's it. I'm a man. I have to remind myself of that every day, but yeah, I am.
You know, like to really change your career and to do something so vulnerable, because to get up there, to me, that is so vulnerable. And you know, I don't know if people really understand that to be a comedian, I think you need to be incredibly intelligent.
Yeah.
You even have shared about how to write a joke.
Yeah.
You know, you write a joke and then you have to test the joke, and you've probably told the joke 100 times and it's failed before you know, like it's a science, it's an art.
It really is. And there are people who make it look really easy, and that is the art of it. That's the performance part of it. But there is everything else that goes into it. And it's, you know, you have to have stamina. You're absolutely right. Like, you'll write a joke and you'll do it 200 times. And the 201st time you go to do it, you're like, I don't even want to do this joke. But you have to perform it. You have to deliver it. Otherwise, it's not going to last, or it's not going to be funny. And the audience can kind of feel that you're timid. So yeah, you have to have some resilience.
I find myself laughing when other people don't laugh. Like, especially.
Is it nervous laughter, or is it like?
No, like I don't know if it's like I find people's just their facial expressions funny, or even in movies, like I'll be watching a movie and I'm like, I laugh. So basically what I'm saying is you probably would have loved to have me in the audience, because I would have laughed at everything.
Which is, Yes, trust me. There are some memorable laughs and people who I know, like I can tell when they're in the audience and I love it.
Yeah.
And that feels good. But sometimes, and this is like the perfectionist in me, sometimes somebody will laugh and I'm like, that's not funny. Like, why are you laughing? And it's like, all right. It's really hard for me to take a compliment. So if you have a good set or whatever, you come off stage and somebody's like, that was really great. I'm like, thank you. I just want to go like sit in a dark space by myself. Even if it was good or bad, I'm like, it's like a different person. Turn it off, turn on. But
yeah. I like that. Okay. So what would the title of your adoption story be if it were a Netflix special?
Ooh, I think Thrifted is a pretty good.
I think so too.
I think Thrifted is a pretty good title. Yeah, I've thought about that because I've like tried to write like maybe an episode of a pilot or something. I don't know if it's like Thrifted at Birth or something, but I like.
Yeah, I think it's brilliant, and you've got these little tote bags with your
kid.
Yeah. And they say thrifted across them.
Because I figured, I was like, when you're going shopping, you're at the farmer's market, you're thrifting, you can just take your thrifted friend with you.
That's right.
Yeah, I know.
I know, it is quite brilliant, actually. Okay, so what is something people assume about you because you're a comedian that's like totally wrong?
That I'm always like happy, or that I'm always on. I love people. I am a people person, but I love time alone. Like I need to just go turn off. I don't have like a social awkwardness, but I have a social battery, and when it's done, it's done. And so I think everybody assumes that, or they assume that. Yeah, I think that's a big thing. They're like, oh my God, you must be funny all the time. And I like to think in conversation I am funny, but there are definitely times where like I'm serious.
Like you've got depth to you.
You
can talk about like very meaningful and deep things, and maybe Okay, what's a question you get about being adopted that secretly drives you nuts?
Have you met your birth mother? Everybody wants to know it immediately. And I get it, but I don't think that people ask that question because they want to know. Like if I just said yes or no and I walked away, I don't feel like they would feel satisfied. I feel like they want to know like, and what's the drama with it? Like what happened? Like it's an introductory question to all of the other questions. It's like, what's the tea? And so, that's like the big one.
Yeah, and I think for you, like what I've gotten from you is that your story is very basic. Like
it's pretty.
Like you were adopted.
Yep.
You really haven't gone out searching. And I don't know. Do you still have a desire to?
Yeah, I mean, I just did the ancestry.com thing and found that I was related to people by blood, and that was getting those results and just seeing. I mean, obviously I knew I was related to somebody by blood in the world, but to actually see it was a grounding feeling. I was like, oh my God, wow. Like, because everybody around me is not related to me. So then I did that one morning. I got those results and I had to go to work. And then weirdly, I just kind of forgot that all that happened. And, Rachel, my girlfriend, was like, well, this is like a month later. She's like, did you message them?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, no, I forgot. I should do that. So I think I was like at a bar and I just sent a message and then forgot about it again. And, just wrote like, hey, I was born in Los Angeles. I'm trying to find family. I'm 22% related to you, blah, blah, blah. And then I got a message back like another month later that was like, oh, hey, actually, I'm somebody else using this account trying to find my family. And I was like, I'm so confused now. That's not how this works. Like, you can't just jump on someone's screen name.
Well, no. And you would have to like know that person unless you've hacked into their account.
Right. And so like, and also that was, and then they wrote like, but good luck. And I was like, well, hold like, all right. And I have so many questions for them, but like, why do you think you could find your family on somebody else's profile?
Yeah.
But
I almost wonder if it's like, when people get blocked from.
That's what it's like a burner account.
Yeah. Like that. Like,
you know how awkward of a person you have to be to have a burner account on ancestry.com? Like, you have some issues. Like, yeah, no, they won't. everybody blocked me on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, X. So I just went to Ancestry.com. Like, were you blocked on Venmo too? Like, wait a second. Like, that's rough.
I would like, now I want to go do an investigation on this whole thing on your behalf.
New podcast. Let's start it.
Yeah. I'm really wondering, first of all, because when you do those tests, you need to put down like isn't there like some sort of like code
there has
to do with your actual DNA? And I don't know. It really doesn't make sense.
Well, so there was a couple of weird signs. The first sign was the person I was related to had a male's name. And then it said that she, like, once I got my DNA back, it was like she could be, or no, it said they could be like my stepsister, and I was like, okay.
You mean half?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Half sibling, like my half sister or whatever. I was like, okay, like, male name, but stepsister. I don't know what they could transition. I don't know. Right. I have no idea. So then I was like, well, who do I address this message to? So then I addressed it to the woman who was using the account. And then they're like, yeah, no, I don't actually know the person whose account this is. I was like, whose DNA is this? Like, yeah. But
I kind of on one hand feel like maybe they need to be like reported.
Maybe I should.
Yeah, just because like for that person's, and then perhaps that'll lead you to more answers.
Maybe they're just the worst catfisher. Maybe they were trying to catfish me, and then they were like, all right, I feel bad. I don't know this person. Like, but I think that's why I haven't put much stock into trying to find people that I'm related to, because I'm scared that if I get all my hopes up and everything and then it doesn't happen. So I've been fine. So if it happens, great. If it doesn't, cool. If I'm just a dead end and it's an African prince trying to take my money, then I'm okay with it. It's a scam. Like, you guys don't have those scams where you get like Canada, you guys are so nice. Like every day I get a text on my phone or an email. It's like, hello, I'm an African prince looking for if you send $15,000. It's like all these scams.
Oh my gosh, no! I get ones that come to my text message saying, "Are you looking for work? We've got a great job opportunity for you," which is actually, from what I've learned now, is how they start sex trafficking women.
Really?
Yeah, and there's a great podcast called Finding Ruby, and that's how she thought she was like living like in a really remote place in a whole other country, like a third world country, and she got a text come in that said, "Are you interested in a job?" And she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is my opportunity to get out of this area." And they flew her to somewhere, and it was a whole like sex trafficking ring. So I always like block and report those. But
that's so
anyway,
wild.
that conversation took a really sad turn.
This is life. ADHD. This is what this podcast is going to be, this episode.
Right.
Who knows what we're going to talk about?
Yes. Okay, so I've got just a couple. No, I've got one final question for you for these icebreaker questions, because I was really worried we were going to have things to talk about. Like, I was scared it was going to be dull.
It was just really awkward.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's us.
So the final question is, who is your favorite fellow adoptee?
Oh, let's see. Let me think. There's a few. Are the doors locked before I answer this? No. My favorite fellow adoptee is Crystal Park. I don't know if you've heard of her.
I have.
Yeah,
actually, yes.
Pretty cool.
I thought you were gonna say. Cool. I thought you were gonna say your brother.
Well, he's not here right now.
Okay.
And no, I do. My brother is actually my favorite fellow adoptee. I think just we have similar adoption stories, but our adoptions were handled differently in terms of our parents. And he's also my best friend. So my brother is just unapologetically him all the time. And I really admire that about him, because I don't think he worries so much about the world and how the world perceives him. He's just Cameron, and he walks into a room as Cameron. And I think part of that is because he didn't learn that he was adopted until later in life. So yeah, he's just him. And I love that.
I love that too. I love that. Do you want to get into that at all?
We can. It's tough because it's hard for me because I don't want to tell his story.
Yes.
So that's tough. But yeah, he didn't learn that he was adopted until he was older because he's on the spectrum. And there was a fear of how he would respond to it. And my parents and I looked at that very differently because I always thought that he should know. And they did what they felt was best. And at the end of the day, I'm not his parent.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really it. Meanwhile, I was like, please like me. Everyone, please like me. And because he didn't grow up with that, he was like, yeah, I'm Cameron. Like me or leave. Like,
yeah.
You don't know how healthy that is. But
yeah. Okay. So I want to just go to your parents there because you put out a post on Father's Day that really touched my heart because, okay, here from my perspective, I look at you and I feel like I don't see all the like trauma and pain and like stuff that adoptees within the community that I'm familiar with are going through. And part of that, I think, this is just my opinion perspective, is that number one, I know your identity isn't completely wrapped up in being adopted. It is part of your identity, but it's not like all of it.
Yeah.
I think the other piece is that you have a really like loose attachment to whether you find your family or you don't.
Right.
It's not something that you think is, the answer that will complete you.
Right.
Because
unless they're rich, in which case it might, I should be looking harder. No, but you're right.
Yeah. And then the thing that really, I thought was fascinating was you said that your dad you've always felt seen by your father.
Yeah.
So share with me a little bit.
Yeah. My dad,
about that.
My dad is an incredible man. My dad didn't really have a dad growing up. He had some male influences in his life, but I think he set out to be the best dad that he could be, given that he didn't really have one. And it's funny because my dad and I we've talked about this maybe for 5 minutes one day, but this is just my perspective. And he's just the best dad. He is at times overbearing. At times he's like he's too much father. But when you're looking at what you want in a dad, you'd rather somebody who is too present than somebody who's not.
Yeah.
We don't always see eye to eye. We have our differences. But I've always felt seen by him, which is he's always been very aware of who I am. And I think because he was so present, he knew, I think, when I was struggling, when I wasn't, without really saying anything. He was just there. And that helped me feel secure. And my mom the same way. They're just very loving, nurturing people. And it's just, that has helped give me the confidence. Going back to school late in life, changing careers, doing all this stuff, it's not easy.
Yeah.
But it never felt hard. It was just like, all right, well, now I go this way. And I always said there were times when I felt lost, and I always use, you have a friend you haven't seen for a long time. Maybe you guys end up going on a vacation together. You see each other for the first time, and you run towards each other, and you hug, and you're so excited that you kind of like do a twirl. And then after that twirl's done, you have to go another way. I always felt like when I was lost, I'd come back home and I get a big hug from my parents, and then they let me go, and I was just facing another direction, and I didn't even know it. They just kind of like through love just directed my path. They never forced me for anything. My parents tell me how proud they are of me. They tell me that they love me. There's just a lot of love. So feeling supported, feeling like that, even on like dark days, I know that they're there. So
that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful.
My dad wrote me a card for my birthday this year, and I opened it up, and I turned 38. It wasn't like it's not a special year.
Yeah.
And I read it and I just started bawling. And I don't even remember what was in it, but talking about how proud he is of me and how much of a joy it is for him to be my father. And I just started bawling. And then my girlfriend looked at it and she read it and she just started bawling because I think my dad has always been kind, compassionate, but I think as we've gotten older, we're more compassionate to each other, more loving, more expressive. But yeah.
I think as a parent of neurodivergent children too, you have to, and I'm speaking from my own experience, there comes a point where you really have to fully embrace your kids as they show up in the world, because if you don't and you fight against that, you're going to be really fighting, like banging your head against a brick wall. And I know that sounds like, well, yeah, of course you do. You just accept your kids as where they're at. But not all parents are like that. They really, like, I know for my parents, they, for most of my life, saw me through the eyes that they wanted to see me through, not necessarily for who I was. And so I really felt unseen by my adoptive family for many, many years. And I didn't necessarily feel like I could fully be myself, or that it was even okay to be myself. And, you know, I'm really doing a lot of this work around like attachment versus authenticity, because it really is such a risk in every relationship you have, even friendships. And when you can be brought up in a family where they're just like, it is okay to be you, I celebrate you. I think that just sets such an incredible foundation for your self-worth, your self-confidence, your identity, all of those things. And I see that in your life. Like, I do see that through you.
It's funny, just you talking right now reminds me of a story. I am horrible with like painting and drawing. That is not my skill set at all. I have the worst handwriting. I'm very self-conscious about it, like all those things. My parents told me a story that like when I was younger, maybe in kindergarten, maybe even before kindergarten, you know, they show up at like parent night or whatever at school, and they could always tell which artwork was mine because they're like, yeah, that's Christopher's. Like, it's like not great. It's like whatever, but they knew immediately. And like, that was me being seen. They like, that's not where he's going to shine necessarily. Or if I am shining in there, it's an accident. Like, let me tell you, it's like so bad that it's like, wow, this is interesting. This is a new kind of art. But they knew that, like, I sang in the church choir. They knew, you know, sports, musicals, like they never, I can't think of anything where they're like, we're not gonna, like, we got to go try it. Like, and so, just. Spencer
has terrible handwriting.
I have the worst handwriting.
That's so funny. Spencer's my son, for those of you who don't know, but it looks like like kindergarten writing.
Mine's not, I'm a horrible speller. So when I write jokes, I'll try and sit, like some people can sit at a desk and like write jokes. I cannot write like that. I need to move. I need to talk. And if I write a note down, I might write, I don't know, I might write educate, or let's say like, I'll write education down. Maybe I write it 5 times on a page. It could be spelled 5 different ways. Yeah. And somebody will look at it and be like, oh, whoa, okay, like this bad. But I'm like, look, man, I know it says education. Yeah. That's all that matters. I'm barely reading. I'm just looking at the shape of the word. But yeah.
You know, it starts with an E.
Yeah. I'm like, it's an E and it's long and it makes sense in these context clues. Right. But
That's funny. So, because I think a lot of listeners will maybe listen to your story and be like, this guy is in the fog. Let's talk about the fog a little bit.
Let's talk about the fog.
I think you and I have similar kind of perspectives on the fog, and I personally don't love that term.
Yeah.
But was it the first time you ever heard it when you came into the adoptee community?
No, I'd heard of the fog before. When I was invited to do the podcast, I was like, oh shoot, I should do some research. Yeah. After listening to the podcast and understanding what they talk about and the depth in which they talk about and some of the clinical terms and these things, I would just talk from feeling, right? This is it. So I did some research and I read about the fog, and I have a really hard time with people putting labels on things. And I think that comes from being a minority in the United States, where there was a lot of our experience in like the Black culture was shaped by the white culture looking in. They're not a part of it. They've just decided that this is what it is. And so I'm always very, very careful to not do that, because I don't want to label somebody else's life. I don't want to sit here and say, oh no, you're suffering from this. Like, you don't know. You don't know what this is. Like, so with the fog and me and me being in the fog and kind of being caught up and not seeing the negatives of adoption, all that stuff, I'm gonna say it. I think it's BS. I'm gonna straight say it. If you grow up poor and you've never known anybody who's rich, you don't know that you're poor. That's just your life. So when you meet somebody who's rich and then they tell you you're poor, then all of a sudden you have something to compare it to and you're like, oh, maybe I am poor. Maybe it is. But if you've been happy, why does it matter?
Yeah.
And so this idea of me being in the fog, sure, maybe I am in the fog, but I've been so happy, so I'm just gonna stay here. You know what I mean? Like I'll just stay here. This is what I know. Yeah. This is how I've lived my life, and it's really comfortable. Yeah. So cool.
And to me, it's not like you are unwilling to see that adoption does impact people in a significant, traumatic way. Right. It's not that because there are people out there that are just like completely unwilling to acknowledge that adoption is even a problematic thing in some cases. Right. So I don't think that it's like, oh, you just want to bury your head in the sand. No. But, I really think it's quite radical of you to take the stance that you're taking. To me, it's like this is where you're at it in your journey. And like, we need to be meeting every adoptee where they're at in their journey.
Yeah. It is a way of labeling someone. And look, I have never been like, I'm not a rebel. Let me just say this right now. I'm not a rebel. So it's funny because I do kind of feel a little bit like I'm the rebel in adoption world, which is like, it's like not a movie anybody's going to go watch. But it's, you have to acknowledge everyone where they are, like you said. And it's not acknowledging everybody where they are and then saying, but just wait until you get here. This is where he is. Period. You don't, there's no ... Yeah. There's no, but wait, it's done. And this is where he is. And we like you that way. And I've definitely felt that. Yeah. But I definitely feel like a lot. I don't know. I definitely feel this thing of like, oh, like, yeah, he's in the fog. And I will say, and I'm not going to out anybody, it's been interesting to see how many people have reached out to me sort of privately to be like, I'm so glad that you shared this story, or I feel like that. And it's really important. People who are hurting, it's so important that their stories get told, because there are other people who are hurting too. And that's a beautiful thing. But I think it's also just important to show that, like, I'm very comfortable in being adopted. And like you said earlier, like, I don't think that me finding my biological family is going to solve all of my problems. I have so many problems. Maybe it'll tick a couple of them off, but like, I still got a long list of problems. So like, yeah, I guess maybe it would be good to have these two, but it's not going to address everything. And I not knowing what my, how I was, what is it called? Surrender? What's the word? See, this is bad.
Relinquished?
I don't know the story of my relinquishment, but I just like to do what I think is best to honor everyone involved. Yeah. And if it was a forced relinquishment, if it was however it was, I would just, like I said, I want to honor everyone. I want to do the best that I can. I don't want to just be anchored in this thing of being adopted And yeah, I mean, there's just more to me. And to say like, oh, he's in the fog, but just wait until he gets out. Yeah, well, what if I'm comfortable here? You might think it's better over there.
Yeah.
Cool. But I might be good here, and I'm happy. Yeah. I'm happy. So who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you give others maybe the permission, but you do it so well because like you said, I feel like you really do honor where everybody is at. And
yeah. You know, and I've listened to stories, I've read stories of people who are truly suffering with aspects of their adoption, and it has really, really done a number on their life. I can't imagine being in that place.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful that they've shared that, because there's so many people who need that. And I hope that they found comfort in sharing it and getting that off their chest or whatever it is. And I hate that there are people struggling. And so I don't want to take away from those people. We need that story maybe more than mine. You know what I mean? And that's fine. Like, we need to, but we also have to realize that there is a spectrum of adoptees and the way we feel about it. And it's important for people to find their like people and where they fit in. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think even, you know, on the internet and going into these adoptee groups, you really do find the polar opposites, like the extremes of each one. And I remember when I first sort of tapped into the adoptee world and I started going and looking at reading comments and everything and thinking, oh my gosh, should I hate my adoptive parents? Like, should I be more angry about this? And I'm grateful for those extremes, because I think it really did force me to look at how I truly felt about all of it. But I think too, some of those spaces can be so toxic and damaging, and it's easy when that's all you're consuming through social media or whatever. It's easy to really only think about it in one way and really get pulled into this just only thinking about all the negatives.
Yeah.
And for some people, there are only negatives.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I like...
And we're not discrediting that.
No, we're not. Yeah.
I will tell you that there was something that I read, and I don't remember what, because I refused to put any stock into it, where it was really talking about adoptive parents and why people adopt. And don't get me wrong, adopting in itself is a weird thing. It's a weird thing. I think part of it is ego driven, all sorts of stuff. Cool.
Yeah.
But people do it. So now people do it. I will tell you what I will not allow. You are not going to say that my parents are, that my parents have been harmful to me because they've adopted, because they didn't do X, Y, and Z, because they didn't, help me find my biological parents early or whatever. I just won't allow for that, because my parents did the absolute best that they could, no matter how I showed up at their doorstep. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't matter. They did the best job parenting me that they could. And with that comes a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of mistakes trying to be the best child that I could, right? And the best son. But we're just all on this journey. And if you're doing it from a place of love, great.
Yeah.
And once again, there are people who aren't. Those people suck.
Yeah.
But
they do.
But yeah, I'm not going to label my parents as an adjective parents. No, these are my parents. This is my brother. Period. You do what you want with the information, but this is it. And this is how they will be addressed. It's I'm not taking away from them and what they tried to do, but
yeah, I appreciate that. I think too, I often wonder, is this really an adoption thing? Like, when I go through things, you know, it's easy to be like, oh, well, it must be because I'm adopted,
right?
Yeah, or whatever, right? But I really have been trying to see things through a different lens. Like, is this a result of relinquishment or abandonment? Or do you think that I would maybe be going through this regardless? I even look at my own kids, like, do my own kids go through feelings like this? So that's kind of where I'm at in my journey, is like, I think I did need to go through that period of really looking at how adoption impacted my life. And it was painful to look at. And the reality is like, it really did impact my life in negative ways. It did impact me in negative ways. But now I want to be a little bit less, I want to be open to other ideas that perhaps maybe if I wasn't adopted, that I would still be going through this, and it doesn't really matter at this point, because it's not about that anymore. It's about, how am I going to deal with this and move forward in my life?
Yeah. Honor it, acknowledge it's there, and like, then what? You know, and look, there are so many times in my life where I'm like, my God, like my parents, like, oof, like, I don't know, like, we're so different. Is that because we're not blood related? Maybe. But also maybe it's because my dad's really into cars and I am not. Or maybe it's because I was a teenager trying to do teenager things and I'm like, well, my parents aren't cool. Like, we're all different. My brother and I love him. We are so different. I don't know if my brother and I would be friends if we weren't related. Like, we're very, very different. But that's part of it. So, I think one of the things that I think humans, one of our greatest strengths and our greatest weapon is that we can rationalize anything, right? We can rationalize anything. We can look at something good we've done and say, and it could have hurt somebody and be like, well, I did it because, and give a positive reason. We could look at something negative that we've done and we can still, that we knew was negative, and we can be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, but I did it because, like, we can rationalize anything and we find new ways to do it. And that's part of it. So for me, being adopted, it is a part of me. It is not an excuse for anything. It is just a part of me that I live with, and it's fluid. Some days it's really great. Some days there's moments where I'm like, okay, maybe it's this. Like, it's just a part of it. And, you know, people should rationalize it however they want. But
I agree. I think with the whole fog thing, the way that I can see it now is, I think a lot of people think that it was this moment in their life where they were in the fog and then they were out of the fog, or it was a gradual process. But the way that I see it is that I feel like I'm constantly coming, and if you want to use the term, out of the fog as my life has gone on. And what I mean by that is, there's things that come up in my life that I'm like, oh, wow, that really makes me, how do I say this? I feel like coming out of the fog, I will forever be coming out of the fog. Because I think that it's like, little things come up in life or big things come up in life, and it shows me how maybe my adoption or my relinquishment or my disconnection from my cultural identity has impacted me. And so I feel like it's this thing that is constantly happening for me, throughout my life. And I think it's just like, the more awareness I can get about myself, great. And like I said, it's just an indicator of like, oh, okay, I need to look at this, and now I can move forward. So,
and that's it. And I refuse to just put one label on myself.
I agree.
And I just think there's so much more to me, and I feel like I've proven that to myself. And so I owe it to myself to say, yes, I am adopted. I am neurodivergent, I am Black, I am white, I am, like, you know, I'm all these things, and I wave the adoption flag really proudly. So
Yeah. Okay, well, speaking of labels, let's talk about ADHD.
Got it.
Okay.
I've got it.
You've got it. I've got it.
I've got it.
We've got it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
There's been a few things where I'm like, I'm going to send you this email today.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's your email address?
Yep.
And then like 3 days go by and you're like, hey, did you send the email? Because you're wondering, maybe I missed it.
Or in that case, well, first I was like, maybe I missed it. And then it was like, oh, Crystal said she was going to send an email 3 days later. I remember it. So like, I should reach out to her. And yet I never sent you the email back. So there's that. You never got what you needed. And yet, so here we are. No, yeah. I think when we talk about labels, having ADHD has been harder for me. It has been a more prominent label in my life than almost anything else. And some days, I think, when we talk about like using it as an excuse, I think some days I'm rationalizing things that I haven't been good at or whatever by being like, well, it's okay, I have ADHD. And so I think some days it's an excuse and some days it is a cause. Yeah. And it is hard. And as I've gotten older, you know, with more things that I'm trying to juggle, like it just feels like it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I feel like I can never catch up. And it's scary. It's really scary. But I like talking about it. Yeah. So.
And you use it in your comedy a lot.
Yeah, I try and joke about it.
It's so relatable.
Yeah. And I think even if you don't have ADHD, like, of course, there's like the forgetfulness. There's like the sort of mainstream things that people know about it. Like, you know, every day I play a game of like, where's my keys? Where's my wallet? It's just like, and I never win. Or like one of my favorite things was, you know, I'll lose something. I'll lose my wallet. And this is something that makes me really actually angry, and I have to remember it's not where it's coming from. But I'll lose my wallet, and then like Rachel, my girlfriend, will be like, well, where was the last place you had it? And did you check your car? And then it's like, do you need me to look for you? And I'm like, I am not a kid. I will find it, knowing that I will never find it myself. But I don't know if you've ever been on the other side of that. But one day she lost her phone, and it was, because when you lose something with ADHD, it's not like people with ADHD, we don't misplace it. It's gone. It doesn't exist in this universe right now. We're in a different timeline. We'll get back to the timeline we're there, but it's gone. And she lost her phone, and I was like, oh my God. So then I was like over her shoulder, like, where was the last place you had it? Like, I was like, oh, did you check your, do you want me to look for it? And she was like, I hate this. I was like, but it comes from love, but it was fun to be on the other side.
That's hilarious. Yeah. I can recall I lost a flip phone. So you can, you know how long ago this was. And I went to Stuart and I was like, I lost my phone. I can't find it. I don't know where it is. And I'm like, you got to buy me a new phone. So he runs out and buys me a new phone. And then immediately, few like, I don't know, a few days later, I put on my winter jacket and put my hand in my pocket and there's my phone. It's like, oh, okay. Oh. But you want to know what's kind of neat? Because for me, when I lose something, I have such radical acceptance that it's gone.
Really?
I don't even like mourn that it's gone. I'm like, oh, it's gone.
It's gone. So it's interesting because I read a book about grief a few years ago, and they say that everyone, if you lose something, everyone goes through all the stages of grief. Like if right now I lost this cup, I would go through all the stages of grief.
Are you saying I'm a sociopath? I'm sorry to interrupt. Look at his face.
I didn't want to say it on the podcast, and I'm sure you're going to hear about this in the comments, but maybe. Yeah. No. And so like, but it's how fast we get through it, right? Like we can get through it really fast. So it's the same thing if a person dies, right? But it takes longer. It's really interesting to me that one of the things with ADHD is object permanence, where it's like we can just move on to the next thing. We'll forget that we have a cup. Like we've already forgot. But how come when I lose something, I can't just like, I lost it, it's done. Because for me, I can't do that. Yeah. But like with comedy, I can do comedy for 4 years so hard and then one day be like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. Yeah. It's like I don't know about you, but I have a lot of shame with my ADHD that I carry because I want to be normal. I want to be these things, right? Like all this stuff. I can lose everything. I can never lose that shame. I know exactly where it is at all times. It's in the same spot. It's waiting for me at the end of the bed when I wake up. I'm like, I'd like to lose that for an hour. Just once. I'd like to. Where's the last place you had your shame? Like, I don't know. But yeah, it's like those are things. Like,
That's so funny. But, yeah, no, it's funny that you talked about grief and losing things, because I do remember as a child, like I had a number of family deaths. Like growing up as a child, death was very prominent. Like I had young cousins killed in car accidents. I had like just a lot of tragedy happen, and I can remember the feeling that the only thing that I could relate the pain of like losing a person was losing something that was really special to you as a child, and knowing and thinking that you'll never be able to see it again, never be able to find it again. So it's really interesting that you
I
related
think
those two.
Like I'm like not good at funerals. I'm a crier. I'm very emotional. I'm a crier. And then I process my emotions by talking. So if it's like, okay, somebody like to come up, like I'm going to go up and it's going to take too long because I got to cry through it, where it's like, maybe I should have just and then I'm up there thinking like, I should have just stayed seated. Like it is what it is. But I think because of that object permanence, and I feel guilty about this, I feel like my grieving process is kind of short, and then it's kind of done. Like my grandmother is buried, the person I was the closest to is buried in Los Angeles, and I've seen her site maybe twice, and she died in like 2009. I just don't think about doing it. She's not forgotten, but there are moments where I just don't think about it, where as I have friends who are like, oh yeah, this person is like always like, I think about them all the time. I'm like, am I broken? So some of the worst things about ADHD, I think also help me to just decide I'm going to change careers. Yeah. Because I'm like, yeah, it was a lot of work. I've already forgotten about it. Let's move on to the next thing. Like, and that's good and bad, but there some of the things that I think are weaknesses from ADHD or are symptoms of ADHD are really helpful. Yeah. Yeah. You just have to choose to look at it that way.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Do you know who Gabor Mate is?
No.
He's an author, and he's a world-renowned, like he's done so much work. He's from Vancouver. He's worked in addictions. He's very, very fascinating man. He talks a lot about trauma, and he has a book called, and I can't remember it, it's upstairs, but it's on ADHD. Okay. And so I purchased this book because my children got diagnosed with ADHD. And and it's so funny because my son's teacher, she came up to me and she's like, I really think your son has ADHD. And I was so resistant to it. And it's funny because I was so resistant because I had a friend who has it, and she's like, I think you have ADHD. I was like, I do not think I have ADHD at all. And I was so resistant to that as well. But so I purchased this book to learn more about it, because I really didn't understand what it was. And he starts talking in there about adoptees and how like 9 out of 10 adoptees have ADHD. Yeah. And his rationale behind that is something to do with the brain, is it the trauma? The trauma and the neurons not firing and coming together through, like when a mother nurses their baby or holds their baby skin to skin, that actually helps the brain develop. And so there's like science behind it, that when a mother and child are skin to skin when the baby's first born, that's when their neural pathways start forming. Interesting. Right? And so to me, it was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah. So if you have ADHD, maybe comment below. Yeah. Like, let's just see how many of you.
Were you held as a child? No. You know what's funny is, I think having ADHD now, I might be like way too liberal with this, and let me just say, I am not a doctor, but I feel like I can be in a room with people like, he's got it, they've got it, you've got it, like you've got it. Like I I feel like because one of the things we can do is we see patterns.
Yeah.
We see patterns and we can pick up on it like really quickly.
That's how I feel about alcoholics.
Are you?
Or like drug addicts.
Yeah, you're like,
I feel like
you.
Yeah. Or when I was younger and I'd go into a bar, I could always point out the drug dealer.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
By the way, thank you for this whiskey.
Oh, you're right.
I'm just kidding. This is just water. No, it's just water.
Yeah. So, ADHD. Go ahead.
Wait.
Sorry.
So wait. Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Let me hijack this interview.
Please.
So when the teacher came to you
Yeah.
and said, "I think your son has ADHD," and you said, "No, I don't think so," was there a bit of? Did you feel like you were being blamed for something, or was it just like a defensiveness? Like because they're having it, and I know there's like nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
But I know life is harder.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I just didn't know what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't understand it enough to even allow it to penetrate my brain. Like, it wasn't even something that I had, because to me, the kid with ADHD in my classes growing up were like the ones that were incredibly disruptive or emotionally dysregulated. And it was so strange because my son would only act out at school, but when he was at home with me, he was the most perfect angel child.
Yeah.
And she would send me emails saying, Spencer's doing this, 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 and this.
And you're like, no, he's not.
And I'd be like, that does not. And she would ask me, how do you deal with these behaviors when you're at home? I'm like, I don't, because he doesn't act like that with me. So it was really, it was just really challenging. And I've had Spencer's permission to talk about this. I just want to say, because he also has a autism diagnosis as well. And I asked him, I'm like, are you okay with me sharing that, I have 2 children with, autism and ADHD? He was like, why would I be embarrassed about it? It's who I am.
And that is because I was diagnosed early, and I'm sure there were other people getting diagnosed, but this was either really early 2001, like in that range, or maybe even still in the 90s that I was diagnosed, and probably early 2000s. But it is incredible to see how the world has shifted its perspective on ADHD. Like, I was scrolling through TikTok, and there was this guy talking about how when he interviews for a job, his first interview, he discloses that he has ADHD. And I'm like, I've spent my whole life masking the fact that I have ADHD, and you're just out here telling people willy-nilly? Like, what is wrong with you? Like, but yeah, it's a part of people. They've accepted just the way that people have like blue eyes or green. It's just a part of us. Yeah. And that's really a beautiful thing that we've like begin to look at that. So it's very healthy that he's like, yeah, why would I not?
Yeah, it's part of me.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm like, how many more milligrams of this medicine can I take? Because I need to seem normal for an hour. But yeah.
I love when you share about, like when you are on your medication versus when you're not on your medication. I think for me, I've been unmedicated for so many years that I really developed some incredible tools to deal with the chaos, because I couldn't stand the chaos. So I really went kind of the other way. But for instance, like I'll see a cupboard in my kitchen that's like, oh, I need to kind of reorganize this, or I'll have to move one item to another location, and then 5 hours later everything is out of every cupboard.
Yeah.
And now I'm like reorganizing everything and creating a whole new system. And like, that's how my brain has worked with it.
I kind of do that. I would say like 4 times a year.
Yeah.
I look at like my cupboards or something like that. I'm like, I don't know if I should be keeping popcorn there. And then all of a sudden it's like, I'm like learning how to change the oil in my car. And I'm like, how do we get here? And then I end up just like putting stuff in. I'm like, that doesn't make sense either.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely tough. I like being medicated. That helps me so much. When I'm not medicated, I struggle with my self-confidence because the way that I stimulate myself is all like oral. So I like click my teeth, I grind my jaw, I like to talk, food, addiction to sugar. So my weight can just jump. I mean, I can just jump up and weight like nobody's business. And then I get really self-conscious. Yeah. And so it's tough. Financially, I am not in a great place because of a lot of decisions that were made by dopamine earlier in my life. And so I'm trying to play catch up, and I feel better. I feel more control when I take my medicine. And there's been a shortage in the United States. I don't know if you have it here, but it's been really hard. There was a time it was really hard for me to get my medicine. So I was off my medicine for like 3 months, and I was going through some depression. I would just cry because I couldn't do anything. Yeah. Like I couldn't get anything done. But my medicine often stifles my creativity. Yeah. So I have to kind of figure out a system of when to take it, when not to take it. And I'm on Vyvanse, so it's not just as simple as taking it, not taking it, because it builds up in your system. So I have to go a few days, and then I know on like day 4 I can be productive, but day 3 I sleep all day. Yeah. And but it's just something I deal with.
You mentioned dopamine, and one of the things that you shared really early on was that you were having an affair. And can you talk about a little bit about that? Because that just, it something clicked for me, like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense.
Yeah, so I was in a long-term relationship years ago, and I always wanted to be a performer. I love performing, I love entertaining, and this is no fault on the woman that I was dating, but we talked about it on our 2-year anniversary. We were at dinner. It was a beautiful dinner, and I'll never forget it. And I said to her, like, I think I want to be a stand-up comic. And she was like, I just don't think that I could date a stand-up comic because of the lifestyle. And I'll never forget, it was like the most awkward silence. And then the waiter came over and put like this grilled octopus down on the table. And I still remember the sound of like silence and then this plate hitting the table. It was just like, okay, like things just turned. So I met this woman who did like aerial acts, and she'd go off and perform, and she would talk about performing, and I would just get these dopamine hits just by hearing about performing. But chasing the dopamine of having an affair, and this is not great, and I don't suggest anybody does this, but there was a thing about, it was so exciting. It was so exciting. It was exciting to kind of hide it. It was like that thing, and sex feels good. So there was that dopamine chase. Like there was all of that, and it was just, it started, and I never thought that I would be in that situation, but it started, and then it just blew up, obviously, because I have ADHD and I couldn't hide text messages all the time. I'm not that focused. But like, it's like, it got me. When I look back, I made myself feel like a villain for a really long time. And I would talk to my therapist, and I was a villain. I'm such a bad person. I can't believe I did this. What kind of man does this, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, look, it wasn't great. Yeah. But you're not a bad person. And then I started to realize I was just chasing dopamine. Yeah. The same way that people get addicted to drugs. It was just an addiction. So how did I, what do I do? My therapist asked me, she was like, are you addicted to porn? And I was like, no. And she's like, oh, all right. Like, she was like surprised. I was like, well, what? Well, hold on. What about me says, wait. But she was like, these are the dopamine addicting activities that people do. And I never, that was it. So it was never in. And then, of course, if you've ever been in this situation, the person, when they find out you have an affair, the other person is like, it's always, what did I do? And it's like, I promise you, this has nothing to do with you. But you can't. Like, it's not like they trust you now anyway. I'm like, trust me. Like, okay, buddy. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was just dopamine seeking behaviors.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing that. And it's true. Like I have a house full of people with ADHD, and
yes, you do.
Right.
Yes, you do.
And my son came upstairs 2 days ago, and he's like, can I get a
He just walks upstairs. He's like, can I get a corn snake? Like, what? Did you just walk upstairs in the morning and ask for a snake? And I loved it. You were like, he'll be off that in a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's me. Like I'm trying. I still I still battle the dopamine seeking behaviors. I feel like I'm getting better, but I love doing something on a whim. Are you kidding me? Like I wasn't horrible. I've always been really intelligent. I could not get my homework done because there was always something more fun to do than learn Latin. Like, okay, like how do you make that? Like maybe if Duolingo was around, which I love now, but like, I'm not going to sit down and read this Latin textbook. Like I want to go kick a soccer ball outside. Yeah. So it's been hard. And I think that I do. People say all the time, you have ADHD, you don't lack discipline. Yes. But also, I know that I lack discipline in some places. I know that.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. That's a part of who I am. So I don't, and I have been so hard on myself, especially like, 38 and in the financial situation I'm in. And then you make no money in comedy. So it's not like I'm setting off to do like this thing that hopefully will make you billions of dollars, but it's like, but it brings me joy. Yeah. And so it's the battle of being happy and what's real happiness versus what's like just a dopamine seeking behavior. And yeah, so I try and talk about it openly because there are other people dealing with it. But
is being on stage and getting a laugh, does that give you a hit of dopamine? Yeah.
But sitting down to write a joke does not. Yeah. So what's been really hard, and I'll be really honest, is like I haven't been as engaged in comedy as I need to. There are days that I just don't want to do it. But when I'm on stage, it's really fun. And then I think our bodies get immune to the dopamine that it gives us. So it's like, all right, well, what used to be a crazy dopamine spike is just the new normal. So now I'm like, well, what's next? I'm like, and that's where that object permanence is like, I love doing this, but now I got to walk away from it. And that can be scary in relationships too. You have to find ways to stay engaged. Yeah. Because there are people who just walk away from a relationship because, you get into it and you start love bombing. Everything is, I want to be with that person all the time at first. So it's like, how do we go about this in a way that is a little more healthy? But
Yeah. There's so many things that you've said here today about ADHD that I'm just like, yes. Like even just the food, like the food for me, that same, like I've been, gaining and losing the same 40 pounds for the last, 20 years. Right. And that's a big piece, I think, for me. And especially like when you quit drinking and quit doing drugs and you really don't have any kind of substance that gives you
that same
kind of feeling, it's really easy to turn to food and
I mean, even going to the gym, I've never really enjoyed going to the gym, but I go through these periods where I'm like, oh, this is really fun. And I like going, and I don't like working out, but I kind of like I like going to the gym. I like the process. I like saying hi to everybody. Yeah. And so I'll do that consistently for like 3 months, and then I won't go for 3 months. Yeah. And instead of being mad at myself, like, you need the discipline, I was like, hey, this is how life's going to be. Yeah. Yeah. There are worse things, Just like accepting yourself where you're at. Which is I think really hard to do. And although I'm like the most confident, not confident person. And I'm very confident in the fact that I am not confident in myself. And I think that's healthy. Yeah. And people come up to me all the time, like, what do you mean you don't have confidence? And then like, I always joke, like, now I'm worried about my love. I'm like, oh my God, I was confident that I'm not confident. Now I'm not even confident about that. Like, oh God, like, what do I, but this is my life. And instead of wishing it was another life, maybe we just enjoy the time that we go to the gym and we get dressed and then I'm on the elliptical for 2 minutes and I'm like, I'm done here. Yeah. Like, it's like, cool, we went. Yeah. You celebrate the little victories and I know, I think the perfectionism piece and beating yourself up for like that's so real. And I think treating ourselves with the same level of compassion that we would treat a loved one, goes a long way for us. So I think for me too, like I was
I'm always living my life in these extremes. And that gets exhausting.
It does.
Because when it's like, you feel so high because, you're working out 6 days a week and this is all you can talk about. And I'm sure my friends are like, holy cow, she's on to an.
Yeah, they're like, I know my friends are like, wow, okay.
Right. I was telling you about a spreadsheet that I got so hyper focused on. It was like all I could think about, and I couldn't, focus on anything else. And like that's how it manifests for me in my life. And I think for some people they're like, oh wow, but you're so productive and you get but then you don't see
the things I'm not getting
the things that I'm not doing, right? Like you're not seeing that, oh, I've been working on this spreadsheet for 8 hours today and I haven't even begun to think about what I'm going to cook my family for dinner. And that it's not conducive to.
It is exhausting having ADHD. It is exhausting. And I spend so much time, like I said, trying to not have ADHD, like where it's like, I know I need to accept this, but wouldn't it just be nice if I could just get my taxes done on time? Like, wouldn't that just be nice if I could collect receipts throughout the year the way I should? Like, wow, like that. But guess what? That's not how it works. Yeah. And that has consequences. But then I look at some of the positives, which is like, I am willing to just try something. I'm not going to sit. If you said right now, hey, after we film this, I really want to start another podcast about ADHD, I would be like, all right, let's think for an hour and let's film the first episode. Like, let's do it. Whereas other people sit there like, all right, but the pros and cons, I'm like, whatever. Yeah, I'm like, okay. Yeah. And we might do 15 episodes in a day and never do it again. Yes. But I'll be like, man, that was fun. And that was rewarding. And now something lives out there. So, and it just, like I said, it for me also, in like being adopted, there's so many things that have affected my life. And maybe they're all connected, and I'm sure if there's science that says there's a connection, then there's a connection, because I'm no scientist, so I trust you. But it's exhausting. It is what it is, but this is my life. So, I'm 38. It's not like I have 150 more years. Might as well just enjoy it and drink this sugary Canadian's favorite coffee. We can't say whose it is. And know that it'll send me down a sugar, path and ADHD, and I'll be on the plane reading a book about ADHD, and I'll be an expert, and I'll write 5 jokes on it, and I'll never talk about it again.
Right.
Life, whatever.
Yeah, I know my husband said to me, he's like, you've never really like stuck with something long enough for me to, like, you've never been dedicated to anything long enough for it to see like the fruit of it, kind of, right? This was years ago before I did any of this kind of stuff.
Take that, Stuart.
Yes, Stuart.
That. Yeah.
He's like, except ice cream. You've always been very committed to ice cream.
That's it. We're starting an ice cream brand. That's what we're doing after this. We're going to make flavors.
That's right. So, that's funny. Well, Chris, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for coming all the way from LA.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. It was a long walk, but I'm glad I did it. Stupid. No, thank you seriously for having me. This is so fun. And yeah. You're the best.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. You too. Well, thank you for joining us today. You can find us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, and we'll see you next time.